worried that you might be the cool kid? You wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends. Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream? Always so generic, more normal than your friends. Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can't sleep easy after all that you've heard. Cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all. With Tyler, Phil, and Boris. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
It's Tuesday, and you know what that means? It's time for a new episode of the It's Canon Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things geek, the podcast where we talk about all things pop culture, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything, because as it says in the name of the show, everything and everything is in canon. We're hosts. I'm Boris, and as always, I am joined by Phil.
This is my intro this week.
Attaboy. Attaboy. I love it. Enjoy that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, it's been a couple days, and I know we're not a sports show, but because it is in canon, I'm going to say it, that Canada is qualified for the World Cup.
Fuck yeah.
So that deserves a cheers. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm Canadian, but I am sorry.
Enjoy it. Love it. Enjoy it. It's,
Haley's
36
comet
years.
has come.
Exactly. 36 years in the making. Let's fucking have fun. Enjoy it. This is it's been crazy, like, especially like, with our involvement in the sport. It's crazy to think, I forget who I was telling. I think it was a friend. It's almost full circle that, from our personal involvement with the CSA, the Canadian Soccer Association, and other organizations, and it was just fitting that it was against Jamaica where we finally qualified because, back in 2008. 2008, it was against Jamaica where, we really put our money where our mouth is, right? Like, quite literally, in a sense, and really started working with the CSA, with Ticketmaster and other people, and tried to actually make Canadian home games for Canada.
Yeah, it started out as a little vision, and full congratulations to the Voyageurs, and full congratulations to Jamie. I saw coverage on Sportsnet with him on the TV giving interviews along with Mike and a whole bunch of other people. So congrats to you guys. You put in a lot of hard work. I know we did a lot of work together, and yeah, good job, everyone. And it was a pleasure to see. And many congratulations to both the men's and the women's team, because the women's program really helped the men's program too. And they're equally successful with all their endeavors. So it's good to see. I know we're not really a sports podcast or anything, but it's just one of those things that perked me up on a nice Sunday afternoon. That's for sure.
Exactly. It was a perfect way to end the weekend. But yeah, dude, it just feels great, and then we'll see where we end up later this week on Friday, what group we're in. And it's crazy. It's crazy that, we can get excited to this level now.
Yeah, it is funny. I was actually just washing my hands and thinking, I wonder, are we going to be in the group of death? And then I thought, who cares? Like, at least we're in a group.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's honestly crazy to think. It's crazy to see. We've had players not want to commit to Canada because what's Canada? And now we have players around the world who are Canadian, who choose to play for Canada, even though they have, the ability to play for another country.
Yeah, well, you're going to get playing time, especially if you're good. So I just hope it's like what we're talking about on the news and all the coverage, that it's sustainable. So not only are we in this year, I know we're going to be in the next World Cup because we're part host, but going beyond that Canada is now a regular in the division, in the conference, versus, you know, that every 36-year thing. So yeah, it's good news. I felt good for you, Boris. I'm glad that you got to catch it and and celebrate it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so pretty simple show. We're catching up on video games. We're going to talk some TV at the end. But before all that, Phil, how's everything else going? Aside from Canada making the World Cup, how's everything going? What are you playing? What are you watching? How's life?
Playing, watching. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands dropped. And I had this moment where I've been playing Horizon 2 on the PlayStation 5. And I have some Twitter people that I follow and interact with. And they were saying, you know, okay, finished Horizon 2 just the other day, about to get Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. And there was some hesitation on their part, but I egged him on. I said, you know what, do it, dude. Like, I think you're going to be fine. Because he found that he didn't like Borderlands 3. I totally get that. There was a point at which the humor was a little bit pressing and the story was a little bit annoying for our age groups. So anyhow, he took the plunge. And one thing that I didn't realize, and this opened up a whole Saturday evening of YouTube videos for me. And that is, it's the same person voicing Aloy as Tiny Tina in Ashley Birch.
There you go.
And then I went on the time capsule that I somehow missed, and I watched about 5 hours worth of, hey, Ash, what you playing? And it was the funniest investment in YouTube. And I'm so happy I have YouTube Premium without the ads. But oh my goodness, was it ever? I showed one of my friends the Civilization one. And there's apparently a version of Civilization where all the players could gang up on one player. All the players could form an alliance and declare war on one player. And that player had one recourse available. And what is it in this episode? Ashley goes in and her dad and her brother and her brother's wife gang up on her, but she's the States. And then she pulls out a 6-foot-long purple dildo and starts slapping them with it.
Oh, God.
So you had the old Civilization version and the Saints Row 3 6-foot dildo, the purple dildo, all in one episode. And I'm like, this is such a retro video game nerd thing. And yeah, it was a time capsule, man, of pure comedy. So it was interesting because her first job in voice acting was Tiny Tina in Borderlands 2, that her brother co-wrote the game. So she got her foot in the door, and now she does virtually everything. Like, she's doing anime, video games, everything. And I enjoy the humor. I really do. I know it's juvenile and whatnot, but sometimes you just need to play a game where your brain cell can laugh at the absurdity of it. And what is it? Andy Samberg is one of the voices. Wanda Sykes is one of the voices. Will Arnett is the bad guy. Like, this thing is a star-studded masterpiece of video game here.
Yeah.
And it is pure entertainment.
And again, you're naming A-list celebrities. And it's just crazy to see that the video game industry is able to attract these A-game celebrities more and more.
Yeah, and with virtually no advertising budget on this game. They didn't splash this game around. It literally just started showing up, and then people reviewed it, and then it caught kind of virally. I think it's going to do really well. The game itself is a lot of fun. It's instead of a dungeon master, it's a D&D ripoff, but it's a game within a game.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's the Dungeons and Dragons equivalent in Borderlands. But Tiny Tina is your BM.
Yeah.
So, it's everything you need to know right there. I know it stands for something. It's just hilarious to me that bowel movement is part of the code.
Of course.
And yeah, so I'm eating it up, not literally, but figuratively. And the cast is really impressive. The jokes are calling back to the older games. And the humor is on point for me. It's incredibly sarcastic and witty. And yeah, I would, a game in review. It's not a review of a game, but I would wholeheartedly recommend this game for anybody. And the fact that it's got multiplayer, cross-platform multiplayer, which wasn't working on the weekend, but you do get a golden key for it. It's just it's a good time. It's a good time if you got a few friends that enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Very fucking cool.
What have you been up to?
Man, I've just honestly just been so busy, with my own stuff in terms of the Sunday night's main event stuff. This weekend is WrestleMania. This week is an absolute shit show. I think over the next 4 or 5 days, I'm doing 10 shows. So yeah, really. We
even had a WWE event here in Toronto, right, on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. It was a house show. Yeah, it's just a crazy week. So trying to work around so many people's schedules. So this is essentially my weekend. After reviewing, doing write-ups for some shows over the next few days, I'm going to be doing, I still have to do my NXT show, which is going to be tomorrow. We're doing a special WrestleMania preview show for everyone with all the hosts. That's being recorded tomorrow as well. Thursday, we're recording Matt and I are recording a top 10 worst matches of WrestleMania history. That's going to be released April 1st, so April Fool's Day. Have Impact Wrestling that I need to do a write-up for on Thursday. Friday, ROH, Ring of Honor, has their pay-per-view. And then on Saturday at 1 p.m., there's the first NXT pay-per-view. That's from 1 to 4 p.m. And then WrestleMania essentially goes from 6 to midnight.
Oof, well timed.
Both Saturday and Sunday, with live shows to follow.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yep.
That's all I can say, man. I don't know how you do it, because I watch one soccer match and I'm like, I need to do something now.
Oh, trust me, that's exactly how I feel. So we'll see. I don't know. The next few days are going to really be testing a lot of stuff for me. But yeah, I think, I'm looking forward to it. At the end of the day, I think it'll be fun. It's always fun interacting with people of fans of certain genres and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to be busy, but I wouldn't be doing all the shows if I didn't really actually like it. But that's basically where I'm at right now. And then trying to, whenever I can, stay up to date with stuff. Snowpiercer.
Oh, I've got one for you. Sorry, what was that?
Snowpiercer.
Oh, Snowpiercer. Oh, God. Yeah, you know what? We'll have to do a proper concentrated dive on that.
I'll sum up the season.
I need to catch up on
was the season finale, and this is essentially how the season went.
Oh, you're actually keeping up with it.
I wasn't, but I was told to by my friend. She just absolutely loved it. I'm like, okay, I'll continue the show. And yeah, the season started off very slow. It started off just literally off the rails. And
That's
then
where I am.
Yeah. It got better. It really did get better. And then kind of the past 3 weeks have just been some of the best stuff. And they ended this season on such a cliffhanger that they have me hooked into next season already.
I can't wait to do that then. I really can't. Now, speaking of wrestling, though, I got a link to the wrestling thing here. Did you watch the Academy Awards?
I didn't watch it, but I think everyone knows.
I bet you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, the slap. Oh my goodness. I've never seen anybody such a reaction in the media, and I thought, holy cow, is this ever a pure demonstration of the power of pop culture? But I haven't said much about it, and I really don't feel like I have much authority to say anything about it.
Yeah.
But I will say this, out of watching it all, I'm like, when you have two A-list celebrities disagreeing live on stage, and I understand the sensitivities around the disagreement, but for a fact, if I'm sitting at Yuck Yucks and I'm with a date, or even the comedian on stage picks on me, right? It doesn't matter. It could be me, my date, whatever. I basically have two options. I'm either going to heckle them a little bit to see if I can get the heat off, which I don't think in my mind would ever work out the way I want it to.
Yep.
Or I can laugh along. And if it gets bad enough, my third option is I can leave. Okay? Like, those are my options. And
Yeah.
I think that that's the options of most regular people. Now, when you're two A-list celebrities, you have the option of, I'll see you at the after party and we'll have a conversation. It's not like I'm going to have I would have a tough time getting access to Chris Rock. But Will Smith is going to be able to just go up and say, hey, Chris, don't make fun of my wife. That's off limits. Like, you know, can you apologize for that or whatever? Like, it's a simple conversation and be like, oh, man, I thought it was funny. I'm sorry about that. Whatever. It's a conversation between two adults at that point. And no matter how juvenile it gets or whatever, it's not on the world stage. It's a gossip column in the paparazzi afterwards if it gets out of hand.
Exactly.
But they did it this way. And I'm like, what? Were they watching too much wrestling?
Honestly, you never know what these people are thinking. That's the unfortunate part. Here's my thing. Like, at the end of the day, whatever, they can have their beef, you know, whatever. It's the precedence that it's setting. Similar to what you're saying, I'm going to take it one step further. Now, a comedian, what's to say some idiot's not going to want to do the same to some random comedian at a random comedy bar anywhere in North America or in the world for that matter.
Yeah. Like, that's the concern. Like, we've already seen such a deep erosion when it comes to political figures and the way that people relate to them now and how it's disrespectful. Not that I think it has ever been super respectful, but like, there was things where I saw in the last election campaign here in Canada where people were throwing rocks and gravel at the prime minister and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can disagree with them all you want. I'm not here to tell you how to think or vote. But you shouldn't be throwing things at people. Like, it's that simple. Like, there's just rules of conduct, especially people who are running the country, whether you agree or disagree with them. I don't think you're allowed to do that. And it's the same thing. I just can't walk up to a comedian on the stage at Yuck Yucks and just be like, here's my hand. Whap.
Yeah, exactly. That's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And that's what bothers me about this entire thing is that it's kind of setting some weird precedents, and you know there's going to be a knucklehead somewhere who thinks they're going to be funny. They're going to try this to some local comedian, and something's just going to explode.
Yeah, he's gonna pull the gun out of his pocket instead of the open hand.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, the world we live in now.
I don't want to joke
like,
about it. Yeah,
that's the thing. The world we live in now. Like, you said that kind of just off the cuff, right? But it's insane how true
close.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it sits close, like the news. Ugh. Like, you know, if it's not pandemic, it's something happened involving a weapon of some kind. So, anyhow, I hope the two settle their beef. Seems like they have. And let's just stop watching the Academy Awards.
I know, right? That's
we can just read the headlines the next day, like, oh, Dune got 6. Yay.
Yep. Pretty much.
So all it means to me, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There was something I wanted to ask you. I forgot what it was. Oh yeah. So some people have sent me a message. Tyler will be back next week. Basically he went through a few things, personal stuff, you know, and my whole thing here is, you know, this is geek therapy. No pressure. That's why sometimes, some weeks, you're not going to get an episode. If we're just so busy or not up to it, you know, we try our hardest to get an episode up, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Yeah. Anyways, Tyler's been going through this, but he's been super busy, actually. He's recorded a shit ton of interviews. He has about this amazing miniseries that he's working on cryptocurrency, NFTs, and that world, the digital world. So I'm really excited. He's been hard at work, and you know, I just cannot thank him so much for his contributions.
The Discord lights up all the time. My phone's just like, bing, Tyler's online.
Yeah, exactly. And like Boris hours, like, you know, it's the crazy hours. But yeah, so we're gonna be doing that. You know, we're gonna be finishing up those episodes. And by we, it's the royal we, aka Tyler. And you'll get those episodes out. But yeah, he'll be back next week as we inch closer and closer to episode 100 here on the Canon Podcast.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Like we said, it's much more than 100, but officially 100.
Yeah, that's the funny part, right? Like, I honestly, I can do I can do the math, but yeah,
I did it once and it wasn't nice. It
We're
was
like-
it was like I bypassed my 100th episode ages ago.
yeah, I know. You know, and
But that's
I
all
actually had a friend asking me, between all the shows that I do, how many episodes
God.
of a podcast have I done? And it's not as much. Like, for me, it's not as much as I think, but I think it is a lot, because I think I'm in the 400s right now, like, total.
Yeah, but you had a pretty long run with this show.
Yeah,
Previous
what I
to
mean,
me
though.
joining. Like, well,
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It doesn't seem as long, but it is long.
mm-hmm. I don't discount it at all. I think that's an impressive number. And long live It's Canon Podcast, and long live all your other endeavors of men in short pants wrestling one another.
Yep. You know, here's the thing. I would one day love for It's Canon Podcast. And I'm not saying that this is like in my thought anytime soon. This is just, big
Mhm.
picture thinking, where I don't even need to be the host of this show anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Ideally.
It's got its life. It's got its life. But the thing is, it needs pop-up Boris,
I know, trust me. Honestly, that's how the Sunday Night's Main Event must feel with Jason, right? Like, Jason has taken such a step back. He's still heavily involved in the background, right?
Yeah.
It's just, he's taken a huge step back, and I've kind of done a lot of that stuff. Yeah, and like the producing, the planning, and all that fun stuff that goes on behind the scenes. It's crazy how much work goes into just a simple podcast, man.
Oh, I believe me, I know. I think our listeners know, because literally when I have to sit in the hot seat, I do fly by the seat of my pants, and I think that shows. So, I think the only time that I felt confident in taking on the lead on this show has been when I could put a lot of time into planning. But lately it's been something like, we call up you and you go, oh, I can't do it tonight, something's come up. And then we're like, all right, what do we think the episode's going to be? And let's try recording something. Tyler and I will sit down and, like, you wouldn't believe it, but we kind of totally made up the whole thing about opera versus musicals on air.
Yeah, you know what's funny though? It's because, like, I can send you, because I have notes and I write notes sometimes, but I can, like, I feel like you can tell if it was an episode that I was going to host and talk about versus something that you and Tyler, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But that's kind of individuals expressing themselves in different ways too. But that's the whole point in trying to put together a 3-person show, right? Is to get the different angles, is to expose so that all the listeners can identify with one angle or 2 angles, or maybe all 3, or it opens a mind or it closes one. I don't know, but there's a dynamic to it that I've always really enjoyed the attempt at. And sometimes it works really, really well, and sometimes it takes us time to get onto, like a piston striking in an engine to get our timing where we're all in sync, and sometimes we're not in sync. But that's part of the fun, though, too, is to, when you get everybody on the same page and you get the experience that you need and the familiarity and whatnot, then it becomes its own thing, and that's kind of nice.
Yep, exactly. And yeah, that's part of the fun as well at the end of the day for me. But like, as serious as we take this show, as good as we want to be for the listeners, as especially the loyal listeners, I want to be as loyal to them with giving them episodes as they are listening to us. At the same time, I just want to have fun with it, right? Like,
yeah, it's got to be fun.
Yeah, exactly. All right, speaking of fun, not too much to talk about. Some video game news, some TV news. Then we're gonna call it a week. Yeah, you heard the type of week I'm gonna have. So I'm gonna rest my my voice as much as I humanly can. But I think the big news of the day is PlayStation Plus. All right, so PlayStation Plus is officially being rebranded. It's being called PlayStation Plus, and it essentially brings together. I know, don't you love that? But here's the funny part. It's PlayStation Plus spelled out as opposed to PlayStation Plus with the plus sign. So there is a difference in that
huge.
sense.
That's huge.
Anyways, but that's marketing for you. Then you know how many millions of dollars Sony spent
only higher
to get there.
They probably spent $40 billion. 40 million. Okay, let's wheel it back. 40 million bucks. 3 different teams of marketing experts. One came back with a red plus. The other said spell plus. And the other one said, we call it PlayStation Bicycle.
Yep. Ridiculous.
We went middle route.
So PlayStation Plus, PLUS, it is the combination of the PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus services, and then some. It's tiered. Let's talk about this a little bit. So the 3 tiers are PS Plus Essential, PS Plus Extra, and PS Plus Premium. This is what the 3 tiers give you. So PS Plus Essential is essentially what PlayStation Plus symbol is today.
Yeah. What we got today, multiplayer online.
Yep, monthly PS5, PS4 downloadable games, and exclusive discounts, cloud storage, online multiplayer access. That's PS Plus. Monthly, it's going to be costing you, what is
$9.99
$9.99 USD. Or $59.99 yearly.
No price change. Same.
Yep. All right. PS
Marketing.
Plus Extra. This gives you the monthly PS5, PS4 downloadable games, discounts, cloud storage, online multiplayer access, and it gives you a downloadable catalog of nearly 400 PS5 and PS4 games. And that is going to cost you $14.99 monthly or $9.99 yearly. So at launch, the lineup's going to include games like Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man's Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal.
So all the games we bought already.
Yep. Remember that conversation
Because
we were
the
having?
service doesn't exist. Yeah.
Remember the conversation we were having about these PlayStation games kind of getting screwed because of the number of people actually having the system? Here's your solution to that. All right. And then there's PS Plus Premium, which includes everything that I mentioned earlier, plus PS3 streaming, PS1, PS2, and PSP game catalog for download and streaming. And it also gives you time-limited game trials. And that
So basically,
tier,
PlayStation Now.
yeah, that's exactly it. That tier is $17.99 monthly, $120 for the year. There you go. Now, here's the thing. The biggest takeaway from all of this is that Xbox is still in the lead because Xbox has spent millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars working with publishers, publishing companies to get the day one release on their Game Pass service. Here in Sony, unfortunately, that's not going to be happening yet.
But almost all of these developers are in-house Sony developers.
Yeah.
So that's number one. So a lot of these games, if you haven't been buying them, this will be a great chance to get them. Or if you freshly get a PS5, this would be a great chance. Now, just to give credence to what Microsoft spend on Game Pass, it just got leaked this week. Now, it wasn't a day one release, but Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy is on Xbox Game Pass now. And it is rumored and seems to be, somewhat confirmed that they spent between $5 and $10 million with Square Enix to get that game over on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Just one game. So, yeah, Xbox have been hammering at this. Now, this is the funny quandary that I have. I don't think I'm interested in this service at all, other than the regular subscription, like the multiplayer cloud storage. Because I have Returnal. I have God of War. I'm going to buy God of War. You know what I mean? Like it's the games come out far enough apart that you're okay with buying them. The advantage of Game Pass is that it's got that whole thing like Netflix where it's cycling in, cycling out. You jump on a game, you start playing it, you feel urgency. If it's not an in-house brand, if it is, you don't feel that urgency, but typically the quality is good. I just don't know that this is going to be something that Sony get out of the gate feeling like they won.
Yep.
But I think in a couple years, knowing that it exists, it might become something that becomes more attractive.
Look, they have to lay the foundation somewhere. Game Pass was just so far ahead, and Sony was struggling because you had two different services. So just even the fact that they've combined them is a huge step for them to take. Now they can focus on actually working with the publishers on getting the day one releases. You see, for me, I have PS Now. I have PS Now because they're games that I never played, right? Or games that I want to replay. So for
Same
me,
here.
Yeah, for me, I'm just gonna end up getting like whatever the premium plus. For me, that makes the most sense. I'm whatever. It's essentially what I'm paying now for it. It is what it is.
Yeah, for me, I'm not using my PS Now as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
So that's where it cuts off for me. I think the only thing that I really drew upon with PS Now, or one of the services that I have on it, was that I downloaded Gran Turismo Sport just to get ready for Gran Turismo. Like, it was just like, oh yeah, and it was a freebie. So I don't fault Sony for doing it. It's necessary. Get in the competition. When these companies compete, consumers win. I'm pro-consumer when it comes to that kind of stuff for sure.
Yep.
So get in there and get going. Now, I do want to bring up one story, but I'm going to bring it up now because it's so close to Sony.
Yeah.
And it's a real shitbag move by Sony.
Do it up.
And it cheesed me off. All right. So they released a game which we've talked about on here, Gran Turismo 7. And they allowed a 2-week period for the gamer scores to come in and the critic scores to come in. And they did not touch that game. They did not touch elements of the progress of that game. They did not touch microtransactions in that game. The minute that period passed, they installed a patch that took 30 hours to apply, so the servers were offline. We found out that single-player gaming needs online servers. So number one, the fans start losing their crap because they can't even play a game offline. All right, so the game is functionally dead. So the next thing you know, when it comes back, what do? They plot it full of microtransactions, and they redo the entire economy in the game so that as you're grinding, you now have to grind 3 to 4 times as much as you did pre-patch. So the result of this is a car that cost you before, let's say, $1 million, or, and you had to earn the equivalent money, which might take you a few days, now will cost you $40 cash if you want to buy it right now, or a 3-month grind in the game.
Yeah.
So fans got rightfully PO'd. And this is one where I know we overreact as fans, as video game fans. But I really enjoyed seeing the Metacritic score go down to 1.6 on Gran Turismo 7. I haven't logged back into the game. They have put a patch up that winds it back a little bit, gives every player $1 million, which is the equivalent of $10 in microtransaction credits, and promises, because their original statement said they wanted to make the economy look like the real life economy. You can't have exotic cars in real life without working hard. Therefore, you should have to work hard in the game. They just got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. They were trying to fuck everybody. And it just really cheeses me off that they sold us a full price game at $90 Canadian. I paid more than that because I bought the digital deluxe version. They screwed us at $70 American, $90 Canadian, and then changed the entire structure of the game 2 weeks after the review window closes. Like, that is some shady ass crap by Sony and Polyphony Digital. So, shame on you guys. I'm glad that the community stood up. I'm glad that you're trying to make repairs to the game now. But you should have known that this was going to be the inevitability. The one thing that gamers always tell you is they want to be able to play offline And they don't want their full price AAA games burdened down with microtransactions. And keep NFTs the hell away from everything, please. Yep. And thank you. Ubisoft, you will not get any of my money going forward. You know, like this is the end. This is it. So we're done with our relationship of all this stuff if you're going to be doing NFTs. And I got to say, Sony, you and your developers better be careful, because you're going to be suffering at the hands of consumers if you keep on playing these games with people.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing right there. You know, these video game companies, they're finding new and creative ways to essentially screw you.
Mm-hmm. No doubt in my mind. Like, when I was talking about Ashley Burke earlier, she actually has a role in Mythic Quest. She's one of the testers, the lesbian testers.
Yeah.
And like, I know that show is heavily influenced by Ubisoft. I really want to go back and watch that show, and I don't feel like supporting any part of Ubisoft by watching it. Like, it's kind of crazy when that's the causalities that are tracing through the fan base because of this crappy consumer treatment. It's like, I don't want you even monitoring my Apple TV Plus account for stuff that you think you can mine into some kind of microtransaction in your game.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous, man. It's crazy. Like, I don't know. Like, it's a really shitty thing to do.
Yeah, am I wrong for being upset about that? Like,
God, no. Because I just think when it all lines up, when it was happening, I'm like, servers go down. Rebalancing the economy can happen. Let's just see what happens and if it works and all that. But when you actually start connecting the dots as to the time frame of all this and what they actually tried to pull, and their reaction too, to rip it all down, like, holy cow, they were just like, we're going to open up these events. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. They're completely doing what Sony did to Xbox on the Xbox One launch, right? Like, they're just screaming back now, going, oh, no, we're going to fix it. We're going to make gamers happy. Offline play, yes. I know, right? Yep. That's history. Sony for you. That is Sony for you. The unfortunate thing is, kind of lost in all the news, is the fact that Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, whatever it's going to be called, whatever it is going to be called, has actually been delayed until spring of 2023.
I don't think there's a surprised brain cell in my head.
Yeah, you'd be shocked. In our heads. But apparently, people were surprised.
Like, I'm sorry, but, games get delayed. I think there was something else major that got delayed until next year, too. And I'm like, oh, well. Like,
at this point.
Like, yeah, if you're telling me that you're thinking that it's going to be out in Q4 this year, and you're telling me it's going to be Q1 or Q2 next year, I'm not shocked. Like, look at what's going on this year. All these games are hitting in February and March. These were all games intended for December. There's no way that a developer goes, we really want to crack open the end of February. Like, the sales goal is at February. No, people are still paying their credit card at February after Christmas, right? The bar tab is still running.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I think, especially this year, right? Especially the post-pandemic world and shit like that. Like, it's just, that's the unfortunate thing, right? The economy is still kind of rebounding. People are still a little nervous about how they're going to spend their money. And when everything costs double, triple what it should, when inflation is 5%, people are going to question certain purchases.
Yeah, like gas.
Exactly.
I literally made that joke to my workmates the other day, my manager and my director, sitting in a meeting, and they're like, so return to office, we're thinking about planning that soon. And I'm like, you guys can afford gas?
Right. Right.
I'm like, I have an economy car and I filled up my tank and it was $70. Like, nope, not doing this.
Yep, exactly. Like, good luck trying to get people back into the office. And especially, like, we kind of see this here in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area, where a lot of young people especially moved out of the city. Because during COVID, when everything was shut down, everything that was cool about living in a city got taken away. bars were closed. Everything was closed. So
Yeah.
why were you spending, $2,500 for a
To
mini
live
apartment?
in a condo box.
Exactly. So people left, people are leaving, and well, they're struggling now to find a way back, which is funny because
Yeah.
my best friend, he just recently bought a house up in Georgina.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He's north of me.
Yeah. Oh, way north of you. Way north of
Yeah.
you. Way north of you. And yeah, he spent an insane amount because of young people just going out. But to him, it makes no difference because he's driving everywhere. He's a construction project manager, so he's wherever the construction is. So it doesn't matter to him, right?
Yeah. Well, even my niece, she was living in a 2-bedroom, like a 1-bedroom, 2-room condo with her boyfriend or now fiance.
Yep.
And they moved like 3 hours away to a faraway city. But they got guarantees that their jobs are completely virtual. So there's no return to office for them.
Good.
But yeah, a lot of people did that kind of stuff, right? They took the chance. They did it. Like my role, I do have to go back to the office, but only for a day or two a week. And it's completely optional. My company is a very progressive company. I won't say who they are, but I'm very thankful for their leadership and their patience and understanding. And I hope most employers out there are that way. I hope that any industry where you can have the option, you do get the option.
Yeah. But I love how the media, and that there's all paid sponsorship from BIAs especially, right? Because you can imagine the downtown Toronto BIA is hurting right now because the offices are empty. So you're seeing more and more reports on the news and the media where it's like, oh, you are going to be forced to go back. You can lose your job, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, come on. People my age especially, right? People younger than you, around my age, they don't take shit. They really don't.
Well, the funny thing is that our company was so on top of it. They had us re-sign our basically employment contracts.
Yeah.
To specifically encode us as hybrid.
Yep.
So they can't force us to go back into the office. They did that willingly. That's the problem. They didn't make everybody else do that, depending on your industry, right? So if you were going to the office every day, your employment contract hasn't changed, and the McDonald's downstairs says, we need food. We need to sell Big Macs. They're only $17.99 now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a shit show.
I think over the next 6 to 18 months, we're going to be seeing a lot of changes in downtown cores, especially in cities like Toronto.
Toronto and anywhere else in North America or the world.
Yep. So we'll see what ends up happening. All right, man. Anything else you want to talk about in the video game space before we move on to TV?
Give Tiny Tina's Wonderlands a try.
There we go.
Say it again.
All right. Let us talk some Halo TV show.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
What do you got for me, Phil?
Okay, have you seen it?
No, not yet. This is all you.
Okay. This is hilarious because, first of all, I can say that Paramount Plus Canada has really bottled the launch of this because it's supposed to be the one show that is available on Paramount Plus in Canada. As our friend on the show, Fred Kennedy, tried to find out over the weekend, it took him 3 days to finally get a paid working version of this show on his TV. So I think he had to do it through his Apple TV Plus account, even though it says you're supposed to be able to do it through Amazon Prime. I don't know how Paramount Plus is working in Canada, but I'm just very lucky that I have access to a Plex server.
So there is a Paramount Plus app, but it is bundled with Amazon, possible.
Yep.
So it's just weird, man.
But
and
the
let me tell you
bundle
this.
doesn't work on a console.
Let me tell you,
That's
well,
the key.
more so. So this happens with Hey You. Hey You is also bundled with Amazon. That's where a lot of the reality TV shows end up. And sometimes it does take days for it to just show up.
hopefully they get their stuff together, because there is a way in which Xbox are aggressively advertising that you can, with your Game Pass points. So when you do certain things on Game Pass, it awards you points. All right. And what happens is some of the games that I play regularly, like Forza Horizon 5, I'm doing through Game Pass. So I'm building up a massive store of points. So what happens is they go, hey, you can buy 3 months of Paramount Plus for free.
Yep.
Just throw your points at it. So you do that, but then the app doesn't work in Canada. You know what I mean? It's just stuff like that where it gets really confusing. Like, even for me to get Amazon Prime working on the Xbox previous to the latest versions, you used to have to change your storefront to the American storefront, download the app, then you'd put in your credentials and Amazon would recognize it and allow you access. But it felt a little bit weird. It's almost like everybody's telling Fred, you know, like, download a VPN, do whatever. Like, I'm at the mercy of my friends, you know, Plex server, but I just sent him a note and I said, hey, I'm curious about this Halo thing. And yeah, it was a great show. I gotta say, like, sitting down, I've watched it twice now just to make sure of, you know, that the quality's there. Like, I gotta say, it opens with a lot of action. It's different than the video game. Yeah. I'll just warn users that don't expect the video game. It's its own little mythos. It's its own little canon culture. It's not canon to the games. So, and I'm accepting of that. But the big headline out of it is obviously that Master Chief takes his helmet off in this episode already.
Yep.
So it's not quite like The Mandalorian if you think it's going to play that card. But there's a good story. It's setting up an interesting universe. They spent a lot of time, about 45 minutes, setting up the world and setting up the path of what's going to happen. They spent 15 minutes of pure action indulgence. And the action looked a little off to me, but I don't know if that's just part of the internet streaming or if they made choices about how they shot it or what frame rate they shot it at. But overall, it's competent. Like, the action was good. The story is good, and I'm curious to see where it goes. You know, they've already renewed for a second season. So obviously the people who are watching the dailies and the final edited product before it hits the marketplace are excited about it. And, you know, the only thing that it's missing, the only thing that I can critique about it, and I know you're going to notice this right off the bat, like, the sound mixing is fantastic. It's a Toronto company that did the sound, and it is fantastic. The sound spacing, like, this is where I want to talk to Fred again, because he's already commented on this. But even the spatial, like, the spacing of the gunfire and the everything about the sound print is great. It is fantastic, over the top for TV. The only thing that I wish that they did better was include more of the Halo music. That's the one part that's kind of missing, and I think I know why it's missing. But it just felt like the music was very underwhelming for most of this first episode.
Right.
So, but it felt like, you know, the best parts of Halo in the sense that it reminded you of Aliens. You know, when the spaceships are coming in and the warthogs are driving around and the Spartans are getting ready, and everything about it had this great military feel about it and intensity. And yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm really, you know, I hope it doesn't crap out on us. I hope it doesn't lose the plot. You know, it set up a good little story about a girl who's on a planet that's very sought after due to what it produces. And, you know, the Covenant are there to get an artifact. And yeah, the rest is leading to a great story, I think, because John intercepts that artifact and he starts, interacting with it, and it's doing things to him, and Halsey is really curious, and it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of tension points that were set up in just this first episode alone that I know are going to be themes that carry through it. So yeah, I'd recommend 2 thumbs up if you're a Halo fan, and I am. I've spent a lot of time on that franchise, and yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts when you finally get the time to take a peek at it, Boris.
Excellent. Yeah, no, it's for sure on my list. Last week, I caught up on the last 3 episodes of the first season of How I Met Your Father.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've dug into the first 4.
And how many times did you tell me to fuck off?
Yeah. The first 4, and then I got the last 2 on my friend's Plex.
Yeah. Well, there's 10 episodes. It's 10 episodes.
Yeah, I it's just waiting for him to come in and get onto the programs, right? So I'm liking it. That's a big shout out to How I Met Your Mother, or How I Met Your Father. Seems to have some chops. I got to say, I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's very similar to How I Met Your Mother's first season. That first season was very different, very whimsical, very, I don't know, it was very just grounded in everything with a good storytelling, you know?
Yeah, but I love what it became. That show in particular, when like I get a little bit nostalgic, and that was definitely a card that they played.
Oh, you're going to fucking cry with the last 3 episodes.
I cried at the first episode.
You're going to cry. You're going to cry like a little bitch.
Oh, probably I am.
Episodes.
That stuff gets to me, man. I'm telling you, because what that show stood for, right? Like when I was in some real dark times, that was the only thing that picked me out.
Yep.
And, like I really celebrated the absurdity of some of it, even the musical aspects of it for certain seasons and whatnot.
That's the thing.
I loved the little tangents that they went on. I loved all the Star Wars references. I was endeared with the characters. And in this, I can already see the roles and but the differences too.
Yeah.
And that's what I most am looking forward to, is it's new, but it's the same.
Yeah.
How is it different?
Exactly. All right. So, one last thing to talk about. And I haven't told you yet. I have to be a little careful about how I talk about this next thing. Because I was given the first 2 episodes of a little show that some people might be a little excited for. The show goes by the name of Moonlit.
Woo! Oh boy, well that's
shit. I have to be very
we don't
careful.
have long to wait, buddy.
I have to be very careful about what I say. So,
yes.
All right. Oscar Isaac kills it. He's so good in this show. He's so good. Nice. Holy shit. All right. Story-wise, they're doing a great job of introducing you to Moonlit and that world. Now,
yeah, because it's different than the MCU.
And that's exactly where I was about to go. What I love about this show is that it is a part of the MCU, but it's a tangent of the MCU. So you're not getting the multiverse of madness. You're not getting this and that. You're not getting, hidden references to the attack of New York or Thanos and or the blip or stuff like that. There's hints of it. You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember the first season of Daredevil on Netflix when it was part of the MCU, but it kind of wasn't at the same time?
Yep.
That's what this show honestly feels like. It honestly feels like this could have been, was written for a Netflix series.
Hey, that's actually a good thing. Like the fact that that Disney made it, and they made it in that vein, signals a lot of good stuff for not only the Marvel universe, but Star Wars and everything else, because things can just exist on their own.
Yeah.
Which is such a fantastic idea.
Now, and the reason why I say it is similar to the Netflix series, because this show is dark. Holy shit. This is by far, and I'm trying to think of every MCU property out there, this is by far the darkest thing that the MCU has put out. By far.
Nice.
And you know how I always complain when something gets super serious in the MCU, there's always some stupid joke to kind of bring it back down?
Yep.
No, that doesn't happen in this show.
Nice. It's a proper dramatic show.
Yeah. They go balls deep in the drama. They go balls deep in horror. I know how you're gonna react to parts of this show.
You know what? Like, as much as I complain about horror, it's not my strongest genre, but I kind of grew up watching slasher films.
Yeah.
It's more so that I find them boring, right? Like, I just find that that's an easy escape. But I'll give this a try. I don't know. It depends on how weird or dark it gets. There are certain themes that will not resonate well with me, but I have a feeling that something like this is probably going to be completely palatable to me. There are times when the show, if it's good enough, those elements don't distract me from the actual event, like the actual show.
Yeah. So
I'm hoping
this is not a show for little Timmy and little Tina. Let me tell you that.
Okay. So it's definitely like R-rated.
Yeah. It's up
AA.
there. It's up there for no. I would say it's closer to R than anything else. You know, I could see some people not liking this. I can see people wanting. This is more Dark Knight, the Batman, as opposed to anything else. So I can see people who are like, you know, who love the MCU for what it is and its kind of goofiness. You're not really getting that with what I've seen so far from the show.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, though, about parents. Maybe you want to preview this before you even contemplate bringing the children into the room to watch it, because I've seen some father-son combos and some kids out there on Twitter saying how excited they are for this because they've read the comic books and things like that. So it might be a consideration. I'm sure there's going to be heavy warnings and whatnot, but, you know, kids don't like to report the warnings to their parents.
Of course.
They're just going to sit there and be like,
Ethan Hawke, fucking fantastic in this show.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I didn't even know he was in it. Fantastic.
He's so freaking good. He is so freaking good. Yeah. Hardcore Moon Knight fans might be a little disappointed. They changed things around.
Fair.
But you got to make it palpable for television. You got to make it good for television. You got to make it fit in the small screen. So the changes they made, I agree with, and I can't talk about them, but there are changes to the core mythos of Moon Knight. But I think that Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke do a great job of making you forget about that. Yeah, it's only a 6-episode season. I have been promised to be sent the entire series up front. Before everyone.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to chat some Moon Knight as it comes out.
Yeah, ask them for an extra code.
I know, right? I've tried.
I know.
I've tried.
I know. I know you
it's
do.
Disney.
And I know they're stingy
Disney's
with it.
difficult.
They're tight on that. Yeah.
Yep.
No, and you know what? To be fair, Moon Knight might not be my thing, but I'm excited for it just because it's something new and different, right? Like, and even coming from that perspective, I've not got the history with the comic or the character. So the litmus test is going to be how I react to it. Because if you ask Tyler, he's going to know everything about Moon Knight. Yeah. I never even heard of this dude until I saw him dressed up in the toilet paper. So,
right. Yeah. The one thing about Moon Knight, and if people, if you remember a few episodes ago, I was talking about this in The Batman, where a lot of people were complaining. And this is my early review of the first 2 episodes. Just remember that. So this could change. Mm-hmm. One of the things I said about The Batman was that he didn't even factor into certain things happening and not happening in the movie. That's kind of how the Moon Knight is so far.
Oh, okay.
But we're world building, if anything.
Yeah, but it's early times. Yep. Early times, but 2 out of 6. You know, you're almost mid-season already.
That's the thing. I already got a third of the season done. Boom, done.
Oh, wham bam. Super depressing.
Thank you, man.
Obi-Wan is 6 episodes, and I'm like so excited for that. And I'm like, oh, it's only 6. But if the story only works in 6,
we already got told that we're already got emails that early May is when we're getting those codes. And they're very strict about like the review windows and all that fun stuff.
I would like to be the initial review on that one where I can't talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, you know that Star Wars stuff I always try to send to you.
No, I know. And this is where I would not want to go Moon Knight because I wouldn't want to use that. Like, I want a fan like yourself or Tyler to enjoy that, and I'll just grab I'll cook the popcorn in the microwave.
So yeah, good start. If I had to rate this out of 5, I would give this a 4 out of 5. That's 80% crazy Moon Knights out of 100.
Out of 4 out of 5, 80% out of 100. Yeah,
out of 100%.
I would give a Halo that as well right now. I gotta say, off of the one episode, I'd rate that episode at 80% with a lot of hope that they could boost it. So,
yep. So there you go.
Awesome.
Good start. Very good start. I'm excited for it. Remember, Moon Knight comes out Disney Plus March 30th. Every Wednesday, a new episode drops. Starts tomorrow, March 30th. If you're listening to this after March 30th, let us know what you think of the show. And Phil, you can tell them how to get a hold of us.
We will be pressing the crap out of the fact that we have Moon Knight early review for you, too. So you can track us down on www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can look us up on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere where you find a podcast, you're going to find the It's Canon Podcast. And if you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe and leave a rate and review if the platform allows for it. And be sure to tell your friends that you had a good time listening to Boris and Phil, and soon to listen to Tyler on the It's Canon Podcast.
Yeah, I can't wait for Tyler to come back. Always a great time with him. But always a fantastic time with you, Phil. Like I say, it's hilarious that we talk more in the hour and a half that we record this show than we do outside of this show because of this show.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but hey, it's a conversation. That's a podcast.
That's exactly what it is. That's it. It is the It's Canon Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things comic, all things geek, all things pop culture. And the best part of it all is that it's all in canon. He's Phil. I'm Boris. Till next time, goodbye. And that's a wrap.